Hi everybody, it's Timeline Junkie. This is going to be kind of an informal video. I've had I guess I'll say a very dangerous thought in my head as of recent. When you research conspiracy stuff, as I do every single day and have for the past 8 months basically, you encounter so much just insane stuff that you see, everything from, satanic Luciferian cults to like neo-Nazis in Argentina, to the COVID vaccine, the Las Vegas shooting cover-up, the Kennedy assassination, Nephilim, aliens, hidden civilizations. And, a lot of it's true. A lot of it is just outright dumb. And I've never considered myself a conspiracy theorist, so to speak. I'm more or less just fascinated in the stories because I'm a storyteller, filmmaker first. So the one thing, though, that really strikes you if you start researching conspiracies of any kind is sort of to what degree you think the government or corporations or secret societies or religions have control over mankind. And it's not really difficult to see that all of those things actually have a tremendous amount of control over society, whether you want to believe a lot of the more sensational conspiracies or not. Just the ones that have been proven to be true are definitely enough to make you realize that mankind we are insanely smart, and we have developed insanely complex and intricate systems for how to track and watch other people. The general folly of man is thinking that we can one day achieve a godlike power. And that is basically, and this is just my own personal belief now, found in research and faith, that that is the ultimate goal of whoever's in charge. Because I don't know who's actually in charge, because at the end of the day, I believe that it's more than likely a supernatural force. It's more than likely something like Satan that's actually in control, if it is one thing in control of everything. And whether it's cloning technology, artificial intelligence, lots of different types of science, medicine, we are always trying to outsmart God. We are always trying to conquer death. We're always trying to force people against free will and eliminate people's free will, whether it's from advertising techniques or new technologies or the illusion of choice. All of these things are constant forces that are bearing down on everyone in the world right now. And as an American, we're taught that our Bill of Rights is what protects us from tyranny, and that our Bill of Rights is what protects us from the government. And I think it's been shown time and time again that it's done a lot, but it's not necessarily doing the full job. And as time goes on, those protections matter less and less with the new systems of control that have found, or that have been discovered and implemented. And so, I keep coming up with this question, and this is mostly just from writing exercises and sort of thought experiments, because I'm storyboarding out ideas or whatever. But there's always been a lot of talk about like a second Civil War or a second American Revolution, or just the sort of nebulous, the revolution whenever it comes. And with each passing day, I just don't believe that could ever really happen. Whether you want to take in the account of whoever is going to be fighting this revolution, what is their health like? What is their ability to operate weaponry? What is their ability to get funding? What is their ability to hold on to a piece of territory? These are all crucial things for a revolution of any kind to happen. Now, the common misconception is that everyone needs to rise up for something to happen. That's usually not the case. And usually in most revolutions you've seen that have sort of changed the ruling class of a country, it's like under 1% of the people actually end up picking up arms. A little bit of violence goes a really long way. And for my FBI and Mossad handlers listening right now, this is not a violent call to action, I promise. But I think it's funny, in general, America seems to have a system to where we allow just enough freedom to make you think that you could pop off and do some shit and have a revolution. And that ensures that we never have to actually pop off. Like, we're allowed to talk about overthrowing the government for now, and that's why no one ever really tries. We're allowed to talk about, we're allowed to protest, but we need a permit. And it's like, we have this like very cool, acceptable amount of freedom and sort of dissent that ultimately at the end of the day still needs to be paid for and licensed, and you got to check and make sure it's okay. And so I find the notion that somehow the people are going to rise up and overthrow the government to just be so silly and ridiculous, considering because it's not just about like overthrowing the government, so to speak, or like taking control of the buildings. It's more about taking control of these insanely complex worldwide systems. I think that's one of the things that Doge has really, and the USAID thing in particular, has really woken people up to, is just like the scale of the US federal government and its control over the world is just, it's unimaginable. It's almost infinite. It's almost complete. Now, that's not to say that there's not people that fight back and there's not people that give the government a run for their money. I mean, if you think about, Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, a lot of these groups, they're largely populated by guys with like a 7th grade education. But when it comes to their piece of territory and their home and their world, they have PhDs. And it's because they're operating with a different set of information. If there's a really great monologue in the movie Body of Lies, which is overall a pretty bad movie, but we won't get into that. But he's basically, the CIA guy is kind of talking to his bosses saying, like, if you throw away your phone and you start passing all your notes by hand, then guys that live in the future and can see you from space and listen in on your phone calls and see your internet history, well, you're actually very hard for them to see now because you're so far out of the realm and you're so far behind us. So my question is too, because in America, we don't just have this need of like, the actual federal government is not oppressing people in their day-to-day lives like we would think about a brutal sort of banana republic regime or something like that. It does it in ways that I believe are much more innocuous, and it's really just a result of unintended consequences. I think there's just been, for decades and decades, you have lawmakers that go to Washington and it's like, well, what's my job? I'm a lawmaker. Let me make some new laws. And supposedly the freest country in the world, we have almost more laws on the books than anybody. Now, I understand the whole rule of law thing. Like, we should be a nation of laws. Laws are important. But then you start talking about the unintended consequences of elected officials and the unelected officials that they hire that can stay in place for a very long time, and they are living under a different incentive system than most of the rest of like normal Americans or normal people. And which is how you have these sort of big quagmires like the immigration scandal, opioid epidemic. These are all things that these are all done by America. America creates so many of the problems, and then when it tries to deal with it, it creates a whole new set of problems. But it's not like every single American called up and was like, hey, we want the war in Iraq, and we want it to go on for 12 years, and we want Afghanistan to go on for 20 years. Like, hey, we all voted to make sure that health insurance is fucking broken and doesn't actually give people the insurance they need and just still robs people of more money. Like, we're very quickly getting to a point that pretty much every facet of our lives we had no say in. We are not in control of our destinies. And I think way more young people are waking up to that fact. Now, look, in your own life, in your personal life, yes, if you want to get stronger, you can go work out. If you want to make more money, you can go make more money. But it's really more so about the idea of living a life filled with dignity and feeling like you have any real agency as a person, because yes, hustle culture is very important and everybody's got a method or a way to tell you how you should be making money and how you can do this or that. And you just got to grind harder, bro. But Life is not always about grinding. People used to grind in their field because they had to eat. But that's different than, well, I've got to grind to make a few more money, a few more dollars because my government has been devaluing my currency and just printing more and more of it for the past 100 years. Those are two different types of toiling. We are now toiling more and more in our day-to-day lives, and our children's generations are getting affected, and it's because of things that we didn't vote for. And it's to get shit that we don't need, per se. And so my question is, when TikTok is just feeding your children terrible slop, when universities don't seem to make any more impact on you getting a better job, when the housing market either doesn't have enough houses or too many and Airbnbs are fucking it up, when Israel is just slaughtering Gaza and we're sending them billions and billions of dollars, when the Ukraine and Russian war won't end and we keep stoking the fires, and many people don't want it or want to be involved in it in any capacity. Like, yo, shout out to the people of Ukraine. You guys are brave as fuck. I will never say a bad word about those people, and it's horrible what they've had to live through. And I do share some semblance of guilt from it, because people I voted for personally have encouraged this war to go on and tried to stoke the flames of it. And when we get to this point to where every aspect, the price of eggs is going up because we're slaughtering chickens by the tens of millions because of maybe bird flu that's been weaponized more than likely by labs created by us in the World Health Organization in China, when our air is becoming polluted, when our ozone's being fucked with, so they have to make chemtrails to create artificial ozones in atmosphere, when the vaccines that they pushed us all to took and threatened our jobs and livelihood if we didn't get, potentially cause horrific blood clots and myocarditis in young people. When all of these things are happening all at once and you try to stay tapped into it, it just turns you into a crazy person. I have to work very, very hard and go outside and touch grass very often to not just get pulled into a dark, demonic, gloomy place. And that's why most people that start looking into conspiracies and stuff end up just having to find God, because the evil that you witness is it's beyond imagining. The things that you learn, the things that you see, the things that you know are true are so dark, and they're so painful to your soul to have to witness, that you get turned into this, you get put into this position where you there has to be some better answer. And so what I'm building up to here is the idea that, okay, you know, in America we have guns. What if we know that our leaders, like I think about the Epstein case a lot. I believe that, you know, whether Jeffrey Epstein killed himself or not, it's kind of irrelevant. It doesn't really matter. We have enough proof of what's actually been going on. We have enough proof of intelligence agencies running these honeypot operations and using children to do so. And if our society as a whole wakes up to the idea that we, with our tax dollars, fund the slavery and murder and rape of children, what do you do with that information? And so far, every single attempt at bringing these people to justice or even exposing it gets thwarted. Witnesses and victims are being killed. We've seen politicians and law enforcement people, specifically Cash and Dan Bongino, who, like, I believe were pretty honest and honorable men. We've seen them get influenced by this somehow and completely change course, which I believe everything they've seen in the file and all the evidence they've personally seen would lead them to believe that he killed himself, which is why I think it's irrelevant. But I don't ever think we're really going to see the end of this. I don't think there's ever going to be a sort of Scooby-Doo mask-off moment. And that's just one aspect. You know, that's intelligence agencies. I mean, the question is, like, well, why would there be national security information in the files? What does that mean? And for how long have we been told that this thing or that thing is for our national security, meaning our security? And it only seems to hurt us. It only seems to scare us and make us more mistrustful of the government. To quote Tucker Carlson, like, what is that? How long do they get to keep using this excuse? How long do they get to keep hiding behind these things? And when it comes to corporations, oh, well, yeah, this corporation did that bad thing. This NGO, yeah, they stole $800 billion or whatever the fuck. Yeah, they stole all this. Crazy, right? This NGO. It's like, well, no, that's a group of people. They have names. Those names are on a filing form somewhere. They have websites. We know who's on their board. The same goes for these companies. Oh yeah, this medical company, they didn't actually make the vaccine. They just farmed it out to the military and slapped their label on it. Oh really? The company did that? Who at the company did that? You see, the government has built a database on all of us. And now, we're getting more information about Trump striking this potential deal with Palantir to create a database of citizens, which I have my own thoughts on. I'll probably maybe cover in another video, but everyone's acting all shocked and afraid that, oh no, a private company might have our information. And it's like, what on fucking earth do you think has been happening for the last 25 years? Like, ever since the Patriot Act got signed into law, what on earth do you think they've been doing? Why do you think the federal government is Facebook's biggest client? Like, it's data, man. I've seen documents from WikiLeaks, from what Edward Snowden leaked back in 2012 about an artificial intelligence project that was codenamed Grok. Like, they've been building this stuff for so long, man. They don't just pop out of a closet one day and go, hey man, I was tinkering around, I made this AI. No, dude, this is thousands of people, thousands of corporations, hundreds of billions, possibly trillions of dollars, because that's what this power is. It's a godlike power. They have to attain godlike power to eliminate God. That's the overall conspiracy, I believe, and it's just very simple and straightforward. And it's the conspiracy of sin. It's the conspiracy of the fall of man. It's the conspiracy that we believe if we just do this, if we push this a little further, then we can get to utopia. But what if there's like a mass awakening? And what if you realize that like the Amish were right? What if all of our phones and all of our well-intentioned medicine and all this other stuff, what if all of it is just an affront to God? What if knowledge is an affront to God? You think about cultures we look at as backwards, like the Taliban, who I do believe are backwards. I don't condone the Taliban. But it's interesting why they would put that emphasis on not educating women, on just educating in general, and their tight restrictions on culture, on dancing and music and all that. Well, why is that? As an artist of over, pretty much 30 years at this point, my whole life, and now a Christian, I wonder, is all of my art a sin? Is the act of creation as a human, is that a mockery of God? We're getting deep in the weeds here, I understand this, but I'm all coming around to this main point that on the right, what you see right now, like with this Glenn Greenwald thing, you have a bunch of effectively libertarian, sort of secular right-wing people saying, well, it's not a big deal what Glenn does in his private life. Then you have a bunch of the old school turbo Catholic Andrew Wilson types saying, no, he's a degenerate, he should never be trusted, and blah, blah, blah. And frankly, both have actually pretty good points. But it leads me to believe that a lot of times Christians really have no place in right-wing politics, because Christians have the place of the social structure, if that makes sense. Politics is a dirty business. Control and power, no matter what your intention are, I believe is a sin. I believe it is no matter what, power will turn you evil. I believe that the Trump administration will turn evil. It is not a matter of character or willpower. It is a matter of just eating the apple in the garden. Power is sin. There is no true power other than God. And to seek power is to mock God. And that's why they say Satan is the ruler of this world. This world will only get worse. Things will only get worse because it was never meant to get better. If you look at things in purely humanitarian terms, yes, the world's much better. More people are alive, right? We can protect people from dying more and more than ever. We can keep babies from dying in childbirth and mothers from dying in childbirth. And yet, we're closer to our actual destruction as a species than we ever have been. And it's because we don't have as much power as we think. And what I mean by that is the federal government and these institutions, with all their spyware, all of their data centers, the control of the base resources they have, the military might, all of that, it can still fail. And it's designed to fail because it is an affront to God. And this is probably going to be very puzzling for people that maybe have known me for a long time to hear this. But it's just something I've kind of learned to be true. You go down the conspiracy rabbit hole and you think, well, is it the CIA? Is it the Jews? Is it blah, blah? No, man, it's just Satan. It's Satan, the ruler of this world. Which is why the only power we have, the only freedom we have, is to accept Christ into our hearts. That's the only power we actually obtain in this world. It's one of the only things we'll ever really do that matters in this world. The house we build, the clothes we buy, the school we send our kids to, all this other stuff. It's just stuff that makes it a little more bearable to be here in this place that is slowly becoming further and further away from God. But my question is, okay, let's step out of the God Christianity conversation for a second. My question is, what do you do for people that don't believe in God? If I was my atheist self from 5 years ago, what do those people do? You see, the people that have faith, they know where they're going when it's all over. And the people with kids, though, they've got physical skin in the game. And people with faith have spiritual skin in the game. And a lot of times they also have physical skin in the game through their kids too. But what do you do against a system like this? What do you do when eventually the system gets around to telling you, you have to denounce your God or we will kill you and your children? What do you do when the system tells you, you have to say that up is down or we will kill you and your children? What do you do when the system tells you that you have to hurt your own children? That you have to? What do you do when the system tells you you have to give up your children? Realistically, what do you do? Aside from shooting a few cops in your house, maybe, with your guns that you have. It's not going to stop a tank, it's not going to stop a drone, but it's going to make a few of them remember that day. And that on a scale of 100 million people, well, I mean, that's a war. But that doesn't solve anything. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the initial spiritual dynamics this world lives in. So what do you do? And the truth is, you try and prevent it from happening as much as possible. This is not really, I don't know. I hate doing this is a call to action because I have 150 subscribers. I'm not trying to act like a revolutionary leader or anything, but I would encourage people to at least think about the notion that while we are spied on and in some data center They have a little folder on you. It's every porn site you've ever looked at. It's every weird Google search you've ever had. It's every embarrassing text you've ever sent. Every horrific fight you ever had. It's as if you were hearing God read all of your sins out to you. It's a godlike power they have. That's what these blackmail operations are. They can spy on us. They know our names. They know where we live. They know where our kids go to school. They know who the teacher in our kids' class is. This is all information they can find in the snap of a finger. And we have a very limited window of time before AI is implemented and reaches actual intelligence. And basically nobody can see what that future looks like. So that's sort of the, what is it in the movie where they can't see forward enough because, like, presumably there might be a nuclear war, so they can't tell. Anyway, doesn't matter. Nobody can see past that point, though. But until we get to that point, we have the best chance of any group of humans on the planet that have ever lived to take back control of our lives. But we have to be organized, and we have to do it with technology. So let's say, example, X oil company. VP makes a decision, huge spill happens, entire ecosystems are destroyed for generations to come, or a nuclear plant, or hiking the price of some medicine, or mass kicking people off of their insurance plans because there was a wildfire. We would just say, well, like, oh, fuck that company. Oh, that company sucks. I'm going to boycott that company. And I am telling you now, that is not enough. We need to build security apparatuses of our own. This is why I say this is a dangerous thought, and this will probably get me further shadow banned. But these people have names. These people have homes. They have families. They have lives. And they are not immune from the destruction that they cause. And what I'm proposing is that when these companies do these things, we must find information on these people. You must dox them. And they need to be publicly shamed as much as possible. And every piece of information needs to be found out and invaded into their lives to prosecute them and throw them in jail. We have a serious legal problem. There is just a thing in this country where if you own a fucking nice suit, you don't see a jail cell. Unless it's something like clearly like a murder or whatever. But all of these financial quasi-crimes, things like shrinkflation, all of these things, there's just this wall that these people hide behind. Well, yeah, it's just a company, man. It's the direction the company went. It's like, well, who pointed it in that direction? Who was the one that made the decision? Someone made the call. Who was it? The buck stops somewhere. Why don't these people ever see a jail cell? Why don't these people ever have to fucking face any consequences for their actions other than a stupid subcommittee hearing where nothing happens and they just finger wag and it's a fucking show? It's because the people aren't holding them accountable. We cannot trust our electorate to do this anymore. They are compromised as soon as they step through the door. At the very best, all we can do is arm ourselves with information and find out who these people are. Oh, you worked at this NGO and you stole $80 million, but because of quasi-weird funding, you didn't actually commit a crime? Well, cool. You're at least going to be put on a list, a shame list, a do not hire list. And everywhere you go, it's going to follow you around like a wooden sign around your neck. That you took your countrymen's money and stole it. That you took the tax dollars from someone else's fucking labor and you stole it for your own gain. Shame. Shame on you. This is what we need to start arming ourselves with. We need to start keeping track of these fucking people who are destroying our planet. I'm not saying harm them. I'm not saying take the law into your own hands, but take the information into your own hands. We need to start keeping databases of these people. We need to start building databases on government people. We need to start, within the means of the law, arming ourselves with as much possible information as we can so we know who these people are. And eventually we can excise them out of our society where they belong. I don't want to share a country with these people anymore. I don't want my kids going to school with their kids. I don't want to have the same amount of political power as somebody with no skin in the game, with no kids, who doesn't give a fuck what happens to this world, who can just kick the can down the road. I don't want to be a slave to fucking boomers anymore. Like, these people have been in power for so long. And they've done it because they wanted to give their kids a leg up, and I get that. That's what we're all doing. But I want to know who their kids are. Where are they going to work? How'd they get that job? And I just think at a certain point, it's like, oh yeah, we put you in charge of hundreds of billions of dollars of our money, and you lost it? Oh, well, you're in big, big trouble. You're in very big trouble, as if you're going to regret this for the rest of your life. Truly, deeply. You will never escape the pain of the consequence of your decision. It's exactly what cancel culture was, but these are people that do actually need canceled. But because they wear a fucking suit, because they have money, they're just allowed. They're just allowed to keep doing it. And well, I had to quit this, I had to shut this NGO down, and now I gotta go over here and do this. And these people hate us. And they don't even know they do. But they do. So that's the dangerous thought that I'm proposing, is that when this fucking train company that, spilled all the chemicals into East Palestine, Ohio, when this company or that company that makes drones specifically to kill children in Gaza, or to track civilians better, or to track our spending habits to make advertising and corporation get us shit we don't need better, or when these companies put chemicals in their food, we need to start gathering information on when, how, who, where, and why these things happened. So at the very least, we can try and make sure they don't happen again. And the next person that gets hired, we can go, hey, we're fucking watching you. Okay? We're watching you. They have watched us for so long. Every company watches us because we click their fucking terms of service that are illegible. They might as well be in an alien fucking language. And they're doing this all at the end of the day to spit in the face of God. They could say it's for the betterment of humanity and all this. No, it's not. No, it's not. Human beings are not better off. Maybe our lives are more comfortable, but is comfort in the fucking Bill of Rights? No. And with AI and the availability that we have of it right now, they're already scrambling. They already know they let the cat out of the bag too quick. And so we need to use this technology. My own little form of social protest is to use AI to tell stories about these people and use their voices and use their faces in hopes of shaming them, but also warning others, but also getting to reclaim the narrative, because these people own media companies too. And they're the ones that are shoving tits in your fucking children's faces. They're the ones that are encouraging your kids to mutilate their genitals. They're the ones encouraging people to get divorced, to cheat, to become addicted to porn, to get addicted to drugs, to numb yourself, to numb your consciousness, numb your spirit, to keep you further from God. They've got floors and fucking floors of people doing this every single day. Day in, day out. That's the dangerous thought I have. That we need to do something before it is truly too late and it just comes down to a bloodbath. Because no one's ready for that. No one on either side is ready for that. Because even then, the bloodbath, it doesn't solve anything. It doesn't change anything. It's still more might makes right shit. It's still the law of man. The brutal law of man. And we've built all these systems and all these consumer products and all this standard of living to try and get away from that truth, but it's still true. Because it's not what happens when we don't have enough food. It's not what happens when we don't have enough shelter or safety. It's what happens when we think we are God. And the right has contributed to this so much with the idea of pushing individualism as the zenith virtue and the zenith philosophy on how people work. People are individuals, I do believe that, but we are collectives too. And human beings contain certain power in their collective consciousness that they don't as an individual. And that is what this stuff is designed to do. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I think that needs to happen is we need to start getting the information together. And we need to start keeping track of who's doing what and where and when and why. Because they do it every single day to us. And they're not sweating, but they're starting to. Because they're starting to realize that even just the rudimentary forms of AI that regular civilians have, which, believe me, is rudimentary compared to what they have, they're terrified. They're just like, oh my God, this could get out of hand really quick, more slop, give them more distractions, more bread and games. So yeah, let's get organized, man. Let's start keeping track of stuff. Don't break the law. I'm not saying to break the law, but get organized. Let's start watching them too.